Dan is a hell of a great musician.
Always admired him.
Kind of a fan of him personally and also his music for a long time.
He's one of the pioneers of jazz education.
This is what we're calling a live recording, in that we're basically doing a performance and recording it. There won't be any retakes or overdubs or any of that. It's just kind of what you see is what you get. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
This style of music, I mean, especially a live jazz recording, I think it's the first one I've ever done where it's just live in studio with an audience, and whatever you play is what you get.
Quite frankly, all the best albums I've ever heard have always been live albums, where there are mistakes, where things do rush a little, or where there's some humanity still in the music.
I never thought that I would have the opportunity to do that. Even the fact of Dan coming up with that idea was like, wow, man. Really? That's great.
Good musicians, friends, not only on the bandstand, but in the audience. Great environment to work in.
The acoustics in the studio at Luminous Sound are just fantastic. I mean, it was a great, perfect feeling as far as being able to hear everything and feel comfortable playing. I had a father who was a trombone player and arranger, so we had a piano at home, and I'd go to the piano and pick out melodies to tune sometimes, and he actually taught me how to play the chords to Lady Be Good, and so that I could be his play-along record and he could play trombone along with me. So that was an exciting experience because I was getting to play with my dad. My dad used to say there's only two kinds of music, good and bad. And he said, don't mess with the bad stuff,
I started playing drums. My dad played drums. And so I sort of was a drummer, you can call it that, until about 13. And then I got relegated to the bass. I went to UNT, that's where I met Dan Haerle, actually. I studied jazz bass there. Just wanted to get a little more playing experience.
My father was a salesman, but for relaxation he played ragtime piano. And then one day my dad came home from work with a wood block and a pair of sticks. And he asked me to play with him when he played his ragtime piano pieces. So that's how I started playing drums.
I got into music. I came from a very musical family. I remember specifically the day I told my dad I wanted to play. I said, Daddy, I want to play the saxophone. That very day he took me to the store. We got the saxophone fixed and he signed me up for a demo.
I've always wanted to do a live album, and because of clubs not having good pianos and those kind of things, it never has worked out to be an opportunity that presented itself. So when the opportunity did present itself, I thought, that's great, let's do it as a live album.
Oh, well, Dan and I met in 1964, I think, when he came as a graduate student, a master's student at North Texas. And we played together in the 1 O'Clock Lab Band.
I met Dan as a student. I remember as a young student at North Texas State then, he was a bit intimidating. So now, 20 years later, I see him and he's like this big teddy bear. So I'm like, man, are you the same cat that I knew?
Actually, one of the main reasons why I came back to teach at North Texas was because of Dan. Because he was here and he said it was a great environment to work in and great students to work with.
When I met Ed Sof almost 50 years ago, he was already an exciting, skillful player, just a great player.
Ed is a dinosaur. And I mean that as a compliment. I think one of the reasons why I've always admired him is he's a student of the drums. He's a true student of the drums, and not only drums, just music in general.
Brad's playing is just so exhilarating. I can hardly contain myself. It's so much fun.
I guess the youngest person in the band is James. And he's one of those people, when you heard him play, yeah, you know, the proverbial diamond in the rough.
This is a labor of love that demands everything and guarantees nothing. And anyone that wants to pursue music with a passion needs to realize that you're going to have to invest some effort. A good musician was not built in a day. I consider myself a work in progress. You know, I keep hoping that I'll get better every time I play. But you're never done. So, as they say, just keep on keeping on.